It's been a while. Yeah, massively underestimated how much time I was going to have to make videos after having a kid. And here we are again. It's been a long while. Thanks for sticking with me. If you have stuck with me, I really do appreciate it. I know the content's been a little bit sparse while I've been growing into fatherhood. That's not going to be the case going forward now. I've got a couple of videos in the bag, so yeah, content's going to start coming thick and fast. I've got some really interesting projects on the horizon. A very big one, in fact, that's coming up. I'll be telling you about that in a week or so. What's this video about? Well, this was going to come further down the line, but due to the response that I've had about it and the amount of people asking me how I achieved the bases for the Flesh Eater Courts New Year, New Army project that I've just finished, I thought it'd be really good to get that video out there, and then if people want to give it a try, they can. Quick spoiler alert, I do use an airbrush. It's obvious that I use an airbrush for the effect. You can get the same effect with a brush. I'm not going to cover how to do that because, well, I used an airbrush. I don't understand the stigma around using airbrushes, but my viewership drops off as soon as I mention anything to do with an airbrush. So, might as well get it out there straight away. I use an airbrush. Right, well, let's get to the painting desk, see how we created that effect. The glowing, watery, bloody, whatever it's supposed to be. It's actually supposed to be glowing blood. So yeah, let's go and see how we did it. This one's going to be a little bit disjointed, guys, because I recorded it over a couple of sessions. Now, we're going to grab a couple of bases and get the rest of the supplies we need. So I've got some cork here, a few bits and pieces just from a bits box, some super glue. This is some just cheap pound shop extra thin stuff. I've got some Leho earth texture, but any brand will do from that. And all we're going to do is start making some rock shapes with the cork, using some clippers just to make some less square shapes, basically just breaking it up and then placing it down in a design that looks good to us, just to scatter them around. And then all we're going to do is super glue them onto the base. What you can do is, as well, is once they're super glued down onto the base, just run a little bead of super glue along where the joining is for an extra strong bond. Next up, we're going to cover the entire thing in as earth texture. Now, it doesn't matter what brand you use for this, so you can even use some sand and PVA. You don't even have to do this step at all if you don't want. It just adds another layer of texture and makes it look a little bit more like natural rock. I like to make sure it's scattered all above, and once that's dry, give it an hour or so, I just hit it with my airbrush, or you could use a rattle can, in black. Now, this is part of the technique, so if you use another colour, your mileage may vary. Just make sure the entire thing has a nice even coat of black. And then I'm going to use a Leho mid-grey. And all you'll notice here is I'm giving it a fairly light coat. I'm not fully saturating it. I'm letting some spots be higher and brighter than the others. That's just where the natural light glow will be. Next up, we're going to come in and hit it with the white. And this is really where we're going to intensify the glow that we're going to see later on. So wherever you think you want it to be hottest, brightest, whatever the effect is you're going for, obviously the whiter, the brighter it will be when we put the filter colour over the top. In this case, we're going to use Magenta later on. So here you can see some examples of what I've done on a selection of the bases. What I would try to do is keep the middle parts of it looking brighter and hotter, so it's getting cooler towards the edges. Now, how you want to do it is entirely up to you. Have a play around and experiment on a couple of spare bases that you might have lying around. We all have thousands of these things, don't we? So I'm sure it's no hardship. Or you could even use it on a bit of paper. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you've not put any rocks on, you can do it on a flat base. Now, next up, we're just going to hit the entire thing with some Agrax earthshade. The only other step that I've done that I haven't showed here is I dry brushed white all over the rocks and the earth texture, just to get the whitest points on there. That's it. It was basically white and grey. Now, this is where the magic comes in. Using this transparent ink, I just work up through the airbrush, covering the entire thing. Don't oversaturate it. You want those highlights, the brighter and the darker areas to show through from the pre-shading that we've already built up. The technique really is simple. It's effectively a zenithal highlight, but rather than just hitting volumes on the model from the top down, we're creating pseudo volumes by just using shades of grey. Then once we hit it with the ink, we can build up the intensity. Now, you don't want to go in super saturated at first. Slow, thin coats, let it dry in between. It only needs a couple of seconds. Just work on your trigger control on your airbrush and work up that saturation. If you see it getting overly saturated, just lay off on the coverage and you'll have no problems whatsoever. As you can see, the vibrancy and the intensity of these inks, they're really highly pigmented and it just works up a huge amount. Now, once that's done, if you want to make it pop even more, you can hit it with some water texture. What I'm using here is the UV resin from Green Stuff World. I love this stuff. I just put a little bit on the base and then I tease it around using a toothpick. Anything will do though, just to get a nice even spread of it all over the base. As you can see here already, it makes the colours just really pop and it's just another layer of vibrancy all throughout the base, and it really does bring those colours out. And I've done this on these magenta red bloody bases. I've tried it on green glowing bases. I've even used it on some guns for the Necrons where I've used that. To set it, use a bit of UV light. If you live in a sunny climate, take it outside and leave it out there for a few minutes. If not, one of these lights, again, I picked up this from Green Stuff World for a few pounds, a few dollars, and it was fine. The last effect we're going to use is the Leho water texture. Now again, this is an optional step, you don't have to do this at all, but what it does is it lets you create some watery wavy textures, and it's very, very simple to use. It dries translucent. As it goes on, it's white, quite opaque, and all I'm doing here is using a coffee stirrer to hit the base with it from all over, and as you'll see, I'm tapping it on and then pulling it off to get little peaks. It looks like meringue or marshmallow. That's the kind of texture you want. Now for these bases, I've not gone to town with making it look too much like waves because they're quite small. If you were using it on a larger base, you might want to make it look, you know, more directional, so the water looks like it's lapping against a shore, for instance. Now again, the final step that I'm going to use to bring that out, if you have gone this far, is we're just going to lightly dry brush it. I'm using a pink colour here. You could use a white as well, that would make it equally look as cool. And very, very lightly dry brush on top of the water texture once it's dry. I left it overnight to dry, but it's usually dry within 2 to 3 hours, depending on how thickly you applied it. If you apply it too thickly, it won't go as translucent as you might want, so if you do want some more aggressive waves, do apply it in a number of coats rather than one. And here you see, it really brings out that texture. It does look like water, and I think you'll agree the effect does look fantastic. The only thing left to do is paint the rim and your super fast bases are done. Overall, these only took about an hour to do from start to finish for a wodge of them, to be honest. And there we go, guys. As you can see, the process is super, super simple. You don't have to use the water effect. Basically, all we're doing is applying a colour filter over the top of a zenithal highlight. It is as easy as that. I'm sure you all know exactly what you're doing once I say that. And you can apply it with whatever colour ink you want, and you'll get a similar effect. The vibrancy is basically controlled by the intensity of the white that you want to put on top of that, your base colours, and how much you want to build it up for the subtle kind of glows, as much as you want to put on whatever it is that you're painting. So if you wanted whiter spot highlights and then to glaze over the top of it with whatever colour ink, blue, green, yellow, orange, whatever, you would get that similar glowing effect. All of the work is done in the pre-shading stage. I've got so bad at doing this. I mean, it is getting late tonight and I've recorded this like 6 times. So yeah, The other videos are much more polished with different cameras and stuff. This I just wanted to get done and out the door so that I had one. My throat's gone, I've been talking all day. If you got some value from this video, do leave me a comment. Hit the like button. If you've not already, please do subscribe. Yeah. That's all I've got for you this week, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you for all the feedback. If you have liked any of the stuff I've been putting on Instagram around this new year, new army, I'm going to have a video possibly next week, most likely the week after, just going through all of that Flesh Eater Cult stuff that I've done as the new year, new army project. I've got some other videos finished in the bag, like I said. They're done and dusted. Couple more project videos that hopefully people will find useful, and then I have a very big project that I'm really excited to share with you. I've been amassing the bits and pieces for the past few months now, and yeah, it's not Kill Team, but there is still a lot of Kill Team stuff coming, and I'm going to be flip-flopping between the two. I'm really excited by this. Right guys, so that's it for this time. Stick around for the next video. Interaction with me down below. That's it. I'm glad to be back. So remember, if you're going to do crack, make sure it's plastic. See ya!